Well, today we are joined by world-renowned violinist Jennifer Koh. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. So when I was doing research for this today, I was so impressed and inspired by the wide range of projects that you work on. It seems like you're always learning and pushing yourself to do something new and forward-thinking. I saw like you were in Einstein on the Beach recently. You explored Korea for a little while, and you got a major in English even.
Yes.
But you also work with kids and play Bach and new music with symphonies. How do you choose the new projects that you work on and what you want to learn next?
I don't know. I think in a way it always comes from within yourself. It has to come from within yourself. So a lot of the projects happen out of questions that I kind of have about music, about, you know, in a way I feel like I grew up in a time period when everybody was saying that classical music was dead. So in a sense, I felt like I had to come to an understanding of why this particular art form was something that felt so vital and visceral for me, and what its kind of place in society is, and what my place as somebody who loves this music, what is my place in society. So a lot of the projects come out of a kind of natural questioning of you know, in a sense, its relevance, why it is that music written 300 years ago still speaks to some people. So that became Bach and Beyond, which is in 3 parts. The question of kind of mentorship, of the idea of lineage, of what you receive from your teachers, what comes down from generation to generation, how does performance practice evolve over the years. So I've collected historical recordings for a long time, and so that kind of question kind of led to 2x4. So there's every kind of project comes from questions I think that I've always kind of had.
And with roles that are a little bit more active than just playing, like Einstein on the Beach, and you did a staged version of 2x4 in Paris?
Oh, no, this is totally different.
Okay.
Well, with Einstein, I'm still doing Einstein. I'm doing it, the last performance in North America is in LA, and that's in a couple weeks. And then the director and I, Robert Wilson, he's just an amazing, amazing artist, and we just really bonded. And you know, he's such a perfectionist, and every part of his life is really about art. So, you know, and we just had an innate understanding, I think, of each other. And from there, so we're planning to stage all 6 sonatas and partitas of Bach, actually, together. And we were supposed to do it in Paris, but unfortunately, the funding fell through. I think he's artist in residence at the Louvre.
Okay.
And his budget was cut by, I think, over 50%. So there are no new productions happening there. But we're planning to do it for 2015, 2016.
Now,
so still in the future.
How do you prepare for a role like that? I mean, I would think that that's totally different mentally than just getting up and playing Bach suite.
You know, it was funny because I was really terrified going into rehearsals because I didn't act, and I remember they were saying, oh, go stage left or stage right, and I was like, what direction is stage left? I don't really actually know where that is. Now I know where it is. You know, so even things like that, I was just like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But I don't know. It was interesting. In the end, it felt very organic, and it doesn't feel like acting to me. It just feels like a larger part of the whole, and I really enjoyed the process as well because, in a sense, that same kind of feeling that I feel as a musician, which is that you're just a small part of a much larger process, whether it's a composition that was written 100 years ago by another person who's maybe no longer living, or you're working with the living composer and you know that you're kind of the conduit for their music. And then also historically speaking, and in terms of performance practice and what what will probably evolve in the future as well. You're just a tiny speck on the map of all of this. Not to mention that when you're with an orchestra, you're just one person amongst a much larger organism. So for me, it was actually nice because I felt like I literally felt that process, that you're just one part of a huge production. So it was actually, in a way, it was kind of, I enjoyed feeling that part of it.
Yeah. Now, with some of the newer music that you play, what are some of the ways that you introduce your audiences to this music?
You know, I just feel like it's, in a way, like the way that I put together programs, and when I find certain composers that I feel really close to, I really am approaching it like I'm just one member of society, right? And I'm not that different from other people, and I grew up in the same time period. So I just hope that what I find really compelling and interesting, you know, kind of just by statistical things, that other people will also find it really compelling. So I kind of feel like that's what I kind of go towards.
In many of the interviews that I've read, you are so confident in yourself as a person and a musician, and you don't really care what other people think. I think that's so great. And as a college musician, we have so much information being thrown at us and professors telling us what to play, and we worry about what our conductors are thinking. How did you get beyond that mental state, and what is your advice to college-age musicians for really finding themselves and trusting themselves as musicians?
I never feel confident. It's so funny. I mean, in the sense that, like, I feel like we're all, I think when you're a musician or when, like, you're an artist, it's always about exploring what you want to do better. I feel like I'm, like, swirling on this chair. Okay, I'm just going to turn around. So you're always, you know, I feel like in the work process, you're always thinking about what needs to improve and what needs to be better. And I feel like one of the great things about music is that it forces you to face your weaknesses in a way, but it also, you need to find your strengths and use those strengths to overcome any of those weaknesses. So what I like about the process is that, you know, when you start, you always sound like crap. You know, when you start a piece, it's just the way it is. Or when you start, but I actually like that because you're in touch with that human, vulnerable side of yourself. And I think that's really important to be aware of and to always have with you musically, because that's what ultimately you want to be able to communicate all sides of humanity, which includes that. And so I think it's actually a good thing to be in touch with that part of yourself. And then eventually I think, I mean, for me, it's more that I really believe in the composers I work with, and I'm loyal, and so that's, I think, to a certain degree, because that belief is so strong, or because I love a certain piece so much, I don't care what other people think. But it's like, it's the same thing. If you have a really close friend that you really love and care about, if other people are like, oh, I don't like that person, like, you don't care, right? I mean, you still see all the wonderful qualities in that person, so it doesn't matter. And I think I see it as the same thing. It's like relationships, like music is like almost relationships with different people in a sense.
And you have a few really cool upcoming projects in CD. I see your new CD, Signs, Games, and Messages, is coming out. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm making my vocal debut in that CD.
Awesome, exciting.
Not pretty sounds, but yes. Well, that's a CD of Janáček, Kortág, and Bartók. So we're doing the Bartók First Sonata, Janáček Sonata for violin and piano. This is with Shai Wozner, my partner, my pianist partner, and Kortág Trépézy, and a series of pieces for solo violin from Signs, Games, and Messages, and also from Jennifer Koh, different piano books by Kortog, and there's a couple vocalizing pieces of that CD. But it's a fun CD. We felt we had to lighten it because it's quite, you know, intense music. So
yeah. And also, I saw a note about a program in 2015 coming out called Bridge to Beethoven.
Oh, yes. Wow, you did your research. Yeah, well, that I'm really excited about because just 2 days ago, one of the composers that I asked like a year ago to be a part of this, Vijay Iyer, who I know is from Rochester.
Yeah.
He told me that. He just got the MacArthur, so I'm very excited for him.
That's awesome.
But yes, Bridge to Beethoven, that's kind of about exploring the sense of identity through music. So in a way, you know, I don't come from a musical family. And so it was considered, at the time when I was growing up, it was absolutely shocking to my parents that I was thinking of going into music. And up until I got an English major at Oberlin, and then I went to Curtis, and when I graduated from Curtis, they were still like, well, are you thinking that you might go to medical school still? And it's like, that's not going to happen.
No.
But aside from that, so Bridge to Beethoven is really about exploring how it is that people from different cultures can become so dedicated to basically classical music. And Beethoven, in a sense, is like if you say Beethoven, to most people, he's like classical music. That's like the definition of classical music. That's the definition of a composer. And there's a sense of, he was quite revolutionary, actually, in so many ways, not only musically, but also he kind of redefined the role of what a composer is, what an artist is. He kind of defined the role of what we conceive of as an artist. And so this was really about exploring people from totally different backgrounds. And actually all of us, both Shai, my pianist, Shai Wozner, and myself, are both from non-musical families. And each composer that we've chosen so we're covering all 10 Beethoven sonatas. Each composer we've asked to write also come from non-musical families. So Vijay Iyer is one of the composers. He's writing in conversation with the Kreutzer Sonata. And Anthony Chung is writing in conversation with the 10th Beethoven Sonata. And he actually is quite European in his writing style. And he was actually a protege of Dotio's. So it's interesting, this Chinese-American, you know, and then stylistically what direction they go into.
Yeah.
And Vijay, of course, is Indian-American, and he did start out classically in training with both violin and piano, but of course he's known now as a jazz musician. And finally Andrew Norman, who I love also so much, great composer, also comes from a non-musical family. And then finally, for most of my projects, I like putting little imperfections in it. I almost think because, you know, with Persian carpet makers, they always sew in an error. And in a sense, and also you see that like in Japanese pottery, that they'll actually purposely have cracks because there's a beauty in the imperfection of it. So the last composer is actually, we're not commissioning him, it's already written, is by Jörg Wiedmann, who comes from an absolutely Germanic family, from a musical family, so and has that kind of tradition in his family. So I kind of wanted to do, in a way, a kind of juxtaposition. So it's 4 programs of all 10 Beethoven sonatas interspersed with pieces, newly commissioned pieces.
That's so cool. I love how you pull in all the cultures and the history, and it really makes what we sit and learn in our history classes relevant to today and to our audiences. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.